DJ Metal Craig of Craig's Metal Farm here. I want to be Vesperian Sorrow today. Hey, how's it going? Would you like to introduce yourself and what position you do in the band?
Hey, what's going on? I'm Logan with Vesperian Sorrow. I am the vocalist, lyricist, lore master, um, and main, I guess, architect for the storyline of the album, but also one of the newer members. but yeah, I do all the vocals for Vesperian Sorrow on the latest album, Awaken the Grey Light.
Cool, and thank you very much for your time today in this interview here for Craig's Metal Storm over at Mangled Music Radio. Would you like me to ask you the first question now?
Go for it.
Please go back in the history of Vesperian Sorrow and how the band all got started.
Okay, so seeing that I'm one of the more recent members of the band, it would normally not be appropriate for me to answer this, but seeing also that I've known the band for more than 20 years, I can give you a brief synopsis. Um, Basically, these guys started back in 1994, um, and they evolved into Vesperian Sorrow around like 1996, 97, where their music started shifting towards that symphonic black metal um, style. And around the 1998, 1999, that's when I actually started seeing them doing shows like in South Texas. So that's when I befriended them, and actually there were other times where I worked with them informally, and with other bands that I had been involved with in the Austin area. I had actually booked shows with Vesperian Sorrow, so we've been friends ever since. So that'd be that question they can go into at another time. There's a long history with Vesperian, but um, I know it all became central to Austin. Like Austin was um, their main hub where all the band members met.
How did you guys come up with the band name Vesperian Sorrow?
My understanding with the name and how they came up with it was they Donnie, the former singer, and Chris had come up with a long list of uh, of names on a piece of paper, and they did what worked. They found out they just liked the sound of Vesperian and they liked Sorrow, and they combined that all together. One second, my dog's being noisy. All right, you guys get inside. All right.
Don't
Next
worry about
question.
the dog man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a cat over here, so you might hear some meowing in the background.
Well, this is one guy right here. This is Dr. Pepper. He looks a lot like me. He's a Schnauzer mix. Um, and then I have my husky over here, just running around. Hey, you guys behave. Sit down. They hear me talking, so they think that there's something going on, and they're all excited. So
I have to laugh about that, man. Animals are so awesome.
yeah, my cat doesn't give a shit. He's in the back sleeping, so he's just
My
chill.
two in our bedroom right now.
Yeah, I could be over here like throwing dishes or making a mess, and that cat would just stay there. He doesn't give a shit.
I asked you about the band name for Vesperian Sword already, right?
Yeah, and there's meanings to it. I mean, there's some people that say, "Oh, it doesn't mean sorrow at the dawn or sorrow at the at the evening hours," and it's more like the Vesper star kind of represents to me, and we've talked about it over the years. Like the Vesperian star, the Vesper star, is like the first star you see um, that indicates that night is coming. So to me, night is kind of like a representation of of the end of day, the end of all things, the end of time. So there's kind of like multiple meanings and how the listener or the viewer wants to interpret that.
Cool, and you're gonna kind of laugh at this. I've been a fan of you guys since 1998.
Oh wow, okay. About the time that I was listening to them.
Yep. I actually had an original of the album from '98, but my copy either got thrown out or stolen from me.
Oh shit. Well, we'll have to see if we have any still in stock, man. We'll definitely try to see if we do. We'll send one over to you.
That would be awesome, man. I'd love to get another copy of that album. That was a kick-ass album, man.
Yeah, it was like nothing that had come out at the time. I remember listening to copies and being in. I was in from a town called Laredo, old Southwest, you know, gangster town, and it's a border town between Nuevo Laredo. So this is when a lot of the music started coming out. A lot of that symphonic black metal was starting to emerge. Dimmu Borgir and one of my favorites was Old Man's Child. Still is. Emperor, Satyricon. And in the United States, there was no other band like that except for Vesperian Sorrow. So when they started doing shows in Mexico and South Texas, I mean, they were huge. They were big. People were showing up in droves. So it was an event every time Vesperian played. So that album did get a lot of circulation.
Right on, man. And another thing, you mentioned Emperor in there. Have you heard his solo stuff and his personal name? Izan?
Yeah,
I just
his solo stuff is pretty good.
I just jammed the new 2024 release of his, and it is sick, man.
Hell yeah. Yeah, oddly enough, I had another project. Speaking of Emperor, the last show that I did outside of Vesperian Sorrow, we played with Mortis, who used to be an Emperor back in the heyday. So I had a nice little conversation with him. And Mortis, I think he's done a couple of little reunion shows with Emperor.
Oh wow, man. Because Mortis, I loved all his stuff musically.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, he's a very phenomenal artist, and I was actually baffled because I hadn't heard Mortis in a long, long time. So when we played with him, eh, I didn't know that it was all instrumental. Now I was used to hearing vocals, so I thought, and I was listening to this music going on. I thought it was just one really, really long intro. So
Wow.
it was just keyboards playing. I was like, okay, when does the song start? And they're like, that's the song. I'm like, oh, okay. So he changed. Yeah, he changed a long time ago. So he hadn't been doing a lot of vocal stuff for a while.
Okay, because the one that got me into Mortis was Crypt of the Wizard.
Okay, yeah, yeah. My buddy had that album.
I have an original somewhere. I'm hoping still, because if I don't, it means an old roommate I was living with a while ago threw it out on me.
Yeah.
I hate
Well, I
when
mean,
stuff gets thrown out.
those were the old CDRW days for me too. So make me a copy of something. Make me about 10 or 15 songs of things you think I'd like. And I do the same thing for someone else.
Okay, because the Mortis album I had was actually a physical original Crypt of the Wizard. I had a picture of him on the cover and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a CD collector. I have over 700 original CDs and 300 movies. Almost all of them are horror films.
That's I'm a big horror movie buff. I collect a lot of VHS and DVDs to this day, and I've had to like move them in storage because I got so many. I even got like signed VHS. Evil Dead 2 signed by Bruce Campbell. Um, I have just whatever I could find that's like obscure stuff that I used to watch from like copied tape, stuff from the video store. I have just I try to recollect some of those or reclaim, and I still got like old VHS, like I would say rips, but they're just things that I used to like put on like HBO when I would record something, and then 8 hours of me of just bootleg VHS movies.
Okay, just give me a second. I'm gonna grab something to show it to you. Don't know if you've seen this one before. Have you seen or ever watched this movie, Twisted Sister?
No, I actually haven't.
This is an awesome movie. Sick gore flick.
Oh, hell yeah.
I collect a lot of B grade horror. I collect the horror films in general.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a
I
big
love
fan of Italian cinema. Um, Dario Argento and Lucio Fulci films, things like that. A lot of Spanish stuff, like all the Nashi werewolf stuff. Um, I hopefully, in the next couple of years, I'll be filming my own stuff. So I'm pretty active with the horror convention community. So, in fact, in a couple of weeks, I'll be going to the Cult Classic convention out in Bastrop, Texas. That's where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre gas station is at. So, oh, there's your cat.
Yep, he just came out of nowhere and just booked it up behind me. Little rascal.
Yeah,
Question: Are you a fan of Pinhead at all?
big fan of Pinhead. I love Doug Bradley. Actually, I did an interview with him. I want to say in the mid 2000s, and he had come to my town and did some sort of Shakespeare in the Park sort of deal. And we watched Hellraiser together. We screened it, and while I was interviewing, it was sort of commentary. And I have that interview still somewhere, and I've yet to post it online. But once I find it, I think I'll try to clean it up. It was pretty nervous. I mean, nerve-wracking talking to Doug Bradley, just because I have been, I grew up watching all the Hellraiser movies.
I was very nervous interviewing Steve Tucker of Morbid Angel.
Oh yeah,
I've interviewed Morbid Angel. I've interviewed bands from Nuclear Blast Records, Metal Blade Records. I do some interviews for Seasons of Mist.
nice.
I
I
got
love
some
Steve
big
Tucker stuff.
labels too,
Yeah.
which is awesome. You know which one's my favorite to get releases from when they send them to me at times?
What was?
Seasons of Mist. They got some really obscure, unusual stuff on their arsenal.
They? Yeah. I've met some artists from Season of Mist, and yeah, I mean they're still a pretty top-notch, organization. And admire what they're doing with continuing the underground music scene. So.
Okay, we're going to get into the next question now. Who designed the Vesperian Sorrow band logo?
Well, that's an interesting story. And I can't get too much into the details, but I know just because I wasn't there, but I know it was a Christopher Spogel piece. But it was originally designed by Christoph of our band, Chris, and then Christoph Spogel, uh, who's known for doing like all the old black metal logos, Emperor and whatnot. He went and did that. And I want to say this was also about 1997. So before all the other bands were trying to do that in the 2000s, Vesperian had that for a while, for a long time. So, and they actually got to meet him. I think when they went to England, like he showed up. So, uh, but yeah, he's the. I guess I would give him the main credit on that, which we still use to this day.
That's cool, man. Funny thing is, I have a friend, DJ Storm, who used to DJ with, and he actually got me a logo design for my show by Christoph Spagel.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I use that to post when I do my radio shows sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes I do that. Sometimes I forget. But I do always put up the Live 365 link when I go live.
Sorry, I have to
But
mute it. I have to mute it every now and then because the dogs like to bark when they hear a truck go by. So.
don't worry about the dogs. If they're barking in there, I don't care. It'll make the interview sound more live.
Yeah.
I
Well, these guys get loud, so.
don't mind that. If they bark a little bit, it's okay. Makes for a more interesting interview and
Yeah.
everything. Who's all in the current Vesperian Sorrow band lineup and what instruments do they play?
Okay. Well, me, I'm the vocalist, singer, what have you, front man, the David Lee Roth of the band. Um, then we have, of course, our founders, Will and Christoph. Um, Chris plays drums. He's also our main keyboardist, and also this might go into another question, but if you have it, but he's the one that does a lot of the mixing and producing for the band. Will is our guitarist, and co-songwriter with Chris, and he's does rhythms and leads. And we're JDZ. We're welcoming back JDZ into the fold, who's been off and on in the band, but longtime member as well. John Katz played on the album, um, and we've had a lot of members in Vesperian, so some have left, some have come back, but it's always been Will and Chris. Oh, and we can't forget our good friend Diamond Gabe. Gabe is our bassist, but he's also a phenomenal guitar player as well. And I've known Gabe. He was active in the Austin metal scene for a good 15 years or so. So it was a good friend of mine. And he's good to work with in the band. So it's fun to work with a group of people that you've worked with at different capacities, but we can joke and get along, so we know each other, so that helps.
Right on, man. And the next one is actually a bit of an old school one. You're not sure if you're going to be able to fully answer because it's from before you were in the band. Can
Mhm.
you please talk about a personal favorite song of mine off the Beyond Curse the Clips album titled Shadow Lord, and what the themes and concepts were behind it?
I can't speak for that song, and but I do know. I can tell you one thing about this. It's a great song. It's I think when they're kind of uh, listening to bands like you know Dimu and Cradle. So maybe there's hints of that in there, but that's one of the songs that I think Christoph was talking about, possibly actually doing a remake of it as maybe a single or an EP. So it's one of the ones that he's been interested in getting and redoing. Um, but yeah, that's one of those old school classics.
I understand that. I actually had a copy of that album too at one point. I actually had to sell it because I was in the problem of addiction and alcoholism back in the day. And me and my girlfriend were short on food, so I had to sell some CDs to make some food money at one point.
Yeah, that's long gone are the days where I can go to like some place like we used to have a place called CD Warehouse and CD Exchange, and used to go and bring a bundle of CDs and say, okay, what can I get for this? And then you'd go and buy some. Oh, what? Well, hold on, I don't know. Let me look at your collection first. Look, what's this band here? Can I listen to it? But yeah, I'm guilty of selling off a few CDs here and there.
There's one that I loved, but I can't find anymore. You ever heard of technical death metal band called Burning Inside?
No, I haven't.
That's the genre who used to be in Death, Richard Christie's project.
Oh shit.
He's good in that band. The one song that made the girlfriend make me sell that CD off for food money, Gates of Hell. That song drives her nuts because of the intro on it. It's like a 6.5 minute song.
Hell yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Gates, the Gates of Hell movie?
No, I don't think I have, man. I'm gonna have to check that one out at some point.
Oh, that's a Fulci classic. Oh, here's the other noise maker around. It hopefully won't come up. I live right by a train,
It happens
so my
sometimes.
backyard ends in a train. So probably about like I want to say about 7 years ago, I used to do work at a job that involved me doing interviews with people, and it was with businessmen, attorneys, and I used to record stuff. So one of the biggest problems I had was the train going by, and I'd always have to like keep my finger on the mute button constantly. So if that came out loud, I apologize, everyone.
I didn't hear nothing on my side for the train. I heard nothing, man.
Okay, cool. We're
Yeah.
good.
I just gotta find where I was in the questions. because we've been shooting the shit and everything.
Yeah,
Also
yeah.
placing the questions. How did you guys come up with the album title for "Awaken the Gray Light"?
Oh, that's okay. So, man, I it it's we came up. I came up with a title at the same time. I came up with the name of the song, "Awaken the Gray Light." It's the last song on the album, and the entire album is conceptual. Um, it tells a story from beginning to end. Whereas, well, the first two tracks are kind of um, like they kind of tell a history of what the story is going to be, you know. So, um, "Awaken the Gray Light" is the gray light is kind of like a MacGuffin in this whole concept. And it's very simple. It's just like that's what the motivation and that's what they need to do. Is they need to awaken this thing called the gray light. So it's as simple as it was. I thought it just sounded cool too, and it's also a little bit of a rip off of one of my favorite bands from back when was Fate's Warning, and they had an album called Awaken the Guardian. But this does hold significance towards the overall um, concept of the album and the story that it's telling.
I actually am a fan of Face Warning, so I understand where their music comes from. They're so awesome.
Oh yeah, it's the John Arch era is it's magic to me. And as I like, if there's an album that you want to listen to and it's puts you on a trip is definitely Awaken the Guardian.
Yeah, that one was a good one. But the one that got me started on them was the Face Warning album with the song. Can't remember the name of it, but they had a video for it with Ray Maceo's on vocals.
What's the one? Is it when they started
The one
going
with
like
the TV box.
uh was it the video Eye to Eye?
I think it might have been, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll look it up on YouTube later and I'll shoot you a message about
See,
it.
that's where I was like, I was a John Arch era Fates Warning guy. After that, it was just it becomes like lost to me. Then.
Okay, because Ray Mateos is what got me into Face Warning, but then I followed the John Arch era too. Like I've been into Face Warning. I have an actual album of theirs, which is a double live CD with Ray Mateos on vocals.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, no,
That
there.
one is killer, man.
That's one of the things that it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't even know it was happening until after it happened. Was I think it was the Prague Power Fest, and they reunited with John Arch and did the whole album, and I'm like, oh my god, I would have taken a whole week off from work, and I would have like flown over there. I don't care what the expense was just to witness that, you know. But I missed out. I just didn't know. I was out of the loop.
Oh man, that's unfortunate when you miss out on good stuff. Like I just
Yeah.
missed out on a killer show last night with Vader here in Winnipeg at Bulldogs Event Center.
Oh, Vader's great. Yeah.
I actually interviewed the singer for Vader a long while ago.
Peter.
Peter is a cool
Yeah.
individual to interview.
Yeah. Yeah. I spent some time with Vader. One of my I used to be in this band, and we're maybe there's still talks about maybe something happening. When I would fly up to Chicago and I played with this band called Against the Plagues, and our guitarist Marco Martel actually did a tour where he filled in on guitar with Vader. And that's I don't know what year that was, but I know they're doing their co-headlining with Overkill, and that was pretty fun. So, and Marco, I think he had done some stuff with Malevolent Creation too. Yeah, that's right.
11 Creations is another badass one. But you know which one you probably haven't heard of in a while? And
Hmm.
I actually had a chance to interview. I actually interviewed Bobby Blitz back in 2019, I think it was, for one of the radio stations I worked at.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I got a 15-minute interview with him. We used it full time. We just finished the station. I just put him about 5 seconds behind for his next interview by accident.
Hell yeah. No, Bobby's great, man. He's just Still, he's one of those guys that like, how is this guy still around and doing what he does? He's but hey, the man's a pro.
Yeah, you know what song I got in touch on that? Yeah, been asked about it in a while. That interview I did with him, which was a classic for me. Hello from the gutter.
Oh, I love Hello from the Gutter.
That
I always
song's
like
pretty fun.
Elimination, that eliminate it where he does that, repeats that. It sounds like he's saying lemonade.
Oh, okay. That one we already you answered. The Who Mixed and Mastered Awaken the Gray Light. You answered that one earlier.
That's Chris. Yeah, that's all Chris's stuff. Chris did a lot of the work for every single Vesperian album that's out there. Um, and to be honest, I think um, it's one of those things we've had conversations about where he's really good at what he does. He's a perfectionist. He wants it to sound a certain way, but he's not. It's not always his deal. It's not always something he wants to do. Um, just because of the amount of time it takes to get it done, and it's it does the end result to me has always sounded great. Um, but yeah, behind all that now, we do put our input in there. Everyone in the band, we are like the second set of ears when you're coming up with, it's not just us going in and let me do my part and I'm gone. Chris has said, "Hey, I need you guys to come in and listen, or here's this. How's this? How's the drums?" He'll ask us how his drums are sounding. So we do put our give our feedback. I mean, with my vocals especially, I was like, "Hey, this is, can this go a little bit higher? Can this go a little bit lower in the mix?" So we're all involved in that aspect as well, and it can be a bit grueling at times. Um, and just also tone, what's finding that perfect tone. Sometimes Chris will hear something that we don't, sometimes we hear something that he doesn't. um, it's not always like super fun, but it's something that we just all kind of have this sense of going in and we got to get to work and we need to listen to this, and we become very hyper analytical at that point, because that's everything that we're putting on is it's reflecting on the best of what we can put out. Um, so yeah, it's mostly Chris, but Will, you know, definitely has a big part of the input of the sound, the overall sound of what it's gonna end up being. And then me and Gabe will go in and put our 2 cents. Um, and there have been some things that I have found that I'm like, oh, wait a minute, there's something. Can you actually raise this solo is great? Can you do this a little bit higher? Like can this be a little bit higher in the mix? I really want this to kind of complement with that, and they're very receptive to that. And we'll have a discussion and we'll listen to different versions of it and say, okay, I think this is the one. So it's a lot of trial and error. And nowadays we have the liberty of doing stuff like that, whereas in the early 2000s or the 90s, it was just kind of like, let's put out what we got.
That's cool, man. So basically, you guys do a joint effort on the mixing and mastering, but Chris is the one that does most of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. We're going to get on to the next question now, which is who was the artist used to design the album cover for Awaken the Grey Light?
That was both. Well, the one that did the actual cover, that was Kalen Stokerman's, who's done a lot of different album artwork over the years for different bands. I worked with him. I created the initial sketches and the concept for him to work with. Provided him with about maybe 10 to 12 different pieces. Kind of gave him a synopsis of what the entire album's about. So that piece right there is what that he did. Is It's what I refer to as the Tomb of the Grey Light, and it has a V on there, um, to represent. It's kind of like an emblem for Vesperian, Vesperius, whatever. So there, he did the album artwork. Everything else in the album is mostly done by myself within the liner notes that hopefully will come out by uh, after the release, the official digital release. So there's also artwork from that also will be involved, like in maybe some future releases. That is in the actual liner notes from another artist, Livio Ramondelli, who um, who is a pretty well-known artist in the Transformer community. He worked on IDW Comics Transformer series, and did some stuff. I think with Marvel, did some. Uh, I think he had done some Star Wars stuff as well. When I've seen a lot of his work for that, but I do own a lot of his work too, because I'm a huge Transformer fan. So I, hollered at him and said, "Hey, man, can you help us out with this?" And I did this kind of rough sketch, and we did a collaboration piece that's probably going to be a poster.
Cool, man. Is it okay if I get you to touch off one of the songs off the album? And by the way, I
Yeah,
jammed it in before the interview, and it's
yeah.
absolutely sick and amazing, man.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That means a lot coming from a longtime fan, because we anticipated a lot of people are like, this doesn't sound like old Vesperian.
It actually ranked up there with me, in my opinion, with the 1998 release you guys did.
Yeah.
Big time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, like some of the riffings in there remind me of the old 98 release you guys did.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's consistent with the guys is that when you hear Chris and Will together, it's gonna sound like Vesperian.
Totally, man. And I understand that. Or just getting my bearings again. Oh yeah, the song I was going to ask you about. The themes and concepts behind the song, Unwanted Chainbreakers Defiance, I believe is the title.
Yeah. They beheld the Chainbreakers crowning defiance. Um, that's just another chapter in the story. And The Chainbreaker is a character, is a one of the more prominent characters that emerges mid album, that has a backstory that has yet to be revealed, but he participates in this group's efforts, Odyssey, and essentially leads a revolt. And in towards the as the revolt comes to a close, that's when he's being met by the other people, and that's pretty much what that whole song is about. It actually is one of the songs that I fought for, um, originally, because we had probably about 20 different tracks to work with. But I really liked that one, and that's one that I had heard, and that's a whole other story. This is like 10 years ago. I'm like, what about that one that had that little weird part at the end that kind of this like very like triumphant epic. So I knew I wanted a grandiose story for that one, and probably I want to say like a year and a half ago, I was looking at our tracks, and I'm like, hey, where's that one song? And now we took it off. We're not going to put that in the album. I was like, no, 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 no. That one has to go back in. And so Chris said, all right, well, I need to fix it up then. All right, fine, fix it up, but keep this part and keep that part. And like 2 days later, he like rearranged the entire song, but kept those parts. And but the I have the original arrangement somewhere, but this one is far superior to that. But yeah, it's almost like a song that it's almost like a revenge song or something like that. There's some lyrics that you got to go and see what was going on. Someone um, vowing to do something to someone else horrible. But the Chainbreaker, yeah, is a interesting character, a Herculean character, but integral to the story itself, and much more will be revealed.
Are there any plans for any upcoming shows?
There's always plans. We just don't got anything solid yet. It's just you know what we have to at times pick and choose, and there's times also where we have to correlate things with a release. Ideally, it would be great to go back um, to go back to Canada, go back to places like New York, Chicago, but it has to align with what we're doing personally and what is realistic. And I mean, it's not out of the question, but it's just one of those things that we just have to choreograph correctly. And we want to, we'd like to go see, see some of the people that had seen us before, but it's not always the easiest of tasks in this day and age. Um, Things are a lot more expensive. And it's at the same time, everyone's busy. Everyone's doing like 10 other things. Um, and so we just gotta have to align that correctly. And but if there is a need, or there's a demand, there's enough people that say, hey, we want Vesperian Sorrow to come over here for this festival. That's something that we're definitely wanting to consider. So um, if Dynamo wants us, we'll do it. Dynamo's still around, but something along those lines. If if there's a need, if there is a good fest or something like that, definitely would love to play that. But it just has to align correctly with what our schedules and what we're doing in our personal lives.
Okay, that's cool, man. And I know of a festival that I don't know if you played, but it's here in Manitoba, Manitoba Metal Festival. That one is awesome. They got a 3-day lineup for this year.
Hey, let us know.
Giant Fetus is one of the bands playing on the Manitoba Metal Festival this year.
Love Dying Fetus.
Me too. Wish I could go, but I don't have the money to get out to that. The tickets are already on sale
There's
for
a
3 days.
I was just telling someone. I was telling someone I work with. We're talking about is this so out of context of this? But you said Dying Fetus, so I'm an old school video gamer. Old Nintendo gamer. So I'll bust out the old Nintendo NES and play some games. There's a game called Astyanax, and you could probably get the soundtrack on YouTube, find the soundtrack. But there's a lot of stuff on Astyanax that sounds like Dying Fetus to me, but chip tune style, just like the arrangements and like the time signatures and all that. And I was playing this game, I'm like, this sounds like fucking Dying Fetus.
That's cool, man. I actually got an old modded PS1 over here that's sitting on
Oh,
the floor in front of my monitor. I have to use a 55-inch Samsung TV right now for my monitor because my computer monitor that I did have died on me
shit, man.
after having it about 20 years.
I still got like about 3 CRT TVs put away, and I use those for old school gaming and watching old horror movies. But yeah, can't go wrong with a modded PS1. I had one of those too until it died.
Mine may be on its way out, and I may have to get a new one at some point. It's actually seen up in mid gameplay.
Damn, damn,
Yeah, that sucks, unfortunately.
yeah.
What are the band's immediate music career goals?
See what happens. No, well, kind of along those lines. There's, it's we've built um, this idea of Vesperian Sorrow as a legacy, you know, extreme metal band, and we're at that time and a point. It's a weird time. It's a weird time right now for bands, but I think we don't necessarily have a unrealistic career goal. We're like, let's get our albums out. Let's play some festivals, you know, and if someone wants our music on a horror movie or video game, that's fine. Um, but that's in a nutshell. I mean, it's like we're doing it for the sake of doing it, of the art itself. It's not like we're not saying, hey, we're going to make a lot of money off of this. And hell no, hell no. There's no way that can happen now, which is fine. You know, I think maybe when I was like 19 or 20 or something like that, you'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna be a career, you know, performer, metal performer. But those days are gone, and it's not really something that's viable or feasible, which is fine because I came into this band knowing that, and this is just something that we do for the sake of doing it because it feels right and it feels like something like we want to do and to make an artistic collaboration, because that's what art is. You know, you don't do it for the people, you do it for yourself, you do it as an artist, and um, and at times there's a little bit of a compromise you can make with a listener or an audience, but this um, this is, and you know, it could be selfish, but that's just kind of what art is. You know, you just got to go in there, put out what you want to do, and if people listen to it, people listen to it. So um, that's kind of where we all stand with it. I think is just let's put out the best we can do, the best art we can do, and and you know, if people like it, that's great. That's great. If people don't like it, well, that's great too.
What are some of your favorite moments when in the studio?
I like having Gabe around. uh, Gabe, whenever Gabe's there, Gabe will like, and I also hate having Gabe around. I'll say it like that. I love and hate it because Gabe will he'll just make me like almost die laughing with like one or two little comments, and I'll lose focus of what I'm doing. But I also need that around because it kind of keeps me um, in a jovial, positive, optimistic mood. But every in the studio, it's fun working with everyone really, because it's kind of like I know that they're my friends, so you're hanging out with your buddies doing something that you like doing, and oh my god, like, and I've never worked at this capacity before. I've recorded like different places, different recording studios with different producers, and while they're great and we get along and shoot the shit, working with Vesperian is it's almost childish. We're just goofing off the entire time, and it maybe that's why it took so long to get the album out. I don't know, but um, whether it's here at my spot or it's at Chris's, you know, the studio that Chris uses, you know, there's time that we allot for all the tomfoolery and antics. And there was one time where I think we only spent like maybe 30 minutes of recording time and like 3 hours of going to like a Mr. Gaddy's Pizza and hanging out there and throwing napkins at each other. So it's a fun experience working with the guys. It's just not, if I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. Um, that's you know, looking to put out something immediately, but we have fun recording. You know, and sometimes we get sleepy too because we know we got to get something done. We got to be productive. We always try to put a goal and say, all right, let's quit fucking around. Let's do something today. So, but yeah.
This next one's an even more trickier one to answer. What are some of your favorite moments when on tour?
Okay. Well, I can't speak for the band because I was never doing any tours with them. I've done shows with them. Again, going to take like some. We played like Houston, Austin, um, and just you know hanging out and you know talking and listening to music together. Listening. I mean, we'll crank out you know whatever albums that we like or try to see who's this, what's this band up to right now, and we'll look for it and I'm like, man, I remember listening to them like in 92, man, shit, man, I never heard this album. So it's a lot of that. It's just hanging out with friends, you know. It's a bit of a vacation at times. So generally speaking, um, touring in I've done several tours um, with other bands. I mean, Against the Plagues, I did some tours, and there's a lot of ups and downs with the touring. But it's always, you know, when you're. Sometimes I remember I came out of that tour feeling like shit, and you know, in a very just tired, negative mental state, just because it just finished. And I don't know if it was because I was enjoying myself too much, or because of everything that happened during the tour and all that. It's just overwhelming feelings that you get. And then you look back and you're like, man, those were some of the greatest times. As shitty as certain, there are certain situations or whatever, promoter didn't follow through with something or whatever. Still, like, I wouldn't trade that, because you learn from that, and you learn to appreciate all the good elements. Because I think with the bad shit that happens, you learn to appreciate the good shit that happens, good memories and good jokes. And even some of this, like, hey, remember when this guy went and was like yelling at some guy across the street? You have stories to tell, and you wouldn't be able to actually experience those stories if they never happened, So, or tell those stories. So, I look forward to more of those.
This next one's a really good one. Does the band have any band gear endorsements?
Not that I'm aware of, unless they're like holding out on me, but nothing yet. Nothing right now. We're open to that. This just hasn't been in our agenda right now. It's one of those things that, like, we'll get to that when we get to that. But I'm pretty sure I had an endorsement at one point, like 15 years ago, from someone small, small company. Um, but it's, if hey, if there's a company that wants us to endorse them, or we endorse whatever, however it works, sure, let's work out something.
Please give some vocal tips or advice for starting out vocalists to help them get themselves better.
Okay. Um, Man, that should be almost like a whole other interview there. But um, I used to tell people a healthy diet of beer and cigarettes would help you out. um, don't. Uh, I mean, if you want to try to sound like someone, you could try to do that. But I always tell people to find their own voice. Um, you know, don't say like, "Oh, I want to sound like fucking Glenn Benton," or "I want to sound like whoever from whatever band." Like, try to find your own voice in that. Like, learn some basic singing fundamentals. Like, one of the things, I had a friend, Matt, who was actually my old college buddy, and he was like the perfect college buddy, because he lived right underneath me at the apartment I was staying at, and he was my, like, let's hang out and have some drinks and smoke whatever the hell, watch some crazy ass movies, and we're just the best of buds. And he was just like that reliable dude. He was also an opera singer, and and he never really taught me stuff. We listened to each other's singing styles. He also gave me a book, like a Pavarotti book, you know, and I had a couple of other singers in there, and it was interesting because he was telling me that Pavarotti would smoke cigarettes and eat two Big Macs um, before going on stage. He had to have like two Big Macs, um, and which every if you go on YouTube or wherever, they always give you all these, like, oh, you've got to drink this certain kind of tea and you got to do this. I mean, sure, you got to take care of your voice, but your voice is going to age. You don't want to, like, destroy your voice either, unless that's part of the music and that's what you want to do. Then do it. There's no rules to it. Um, it's If you want to be in a black metal band or a death metal band, and you're having a hard time doing death metal vocals, then see what other people are doing. Remember Peter from Vader? He was talking about eating chocolate um, to help his vocals. Eating chocolate bars, something to that idea. Um, that maybe gets it more gurgly. I drink coffee with heavy cream. for the gurgly aspect of it. But um, whenever I get sick or whenever there's laryngitis, like like there's nothing you could do at that point. Some people like to drink tea and honey. I mean, it's like the way I am. My perspective with vocals is like everybody has a very individual voice, and I've worked with some projects that I'm actually not singing, and I've worked with a singer by the name of Kurt Lowe, who has passed sadly, um, and his voice is very, very unique. And a lot of people say, "What are you trying to go for on your voice? What are you doing on that? And you sound like Captain Beefheart. You sound like all these different kind of people we had never heard of." All he was trying to do was sound like David Lee Roth. It sounded nothing like David Lee Roth. So, yeah, I mean, I would just say with when you're going into music, when you're trying to sound like someone, and just try not to be, if you want. I mean, if you want to be derivative, go ahead and be derivative, but don't get sad when someone says that you sound like that. Some people did say that about me with certain, and people always want to go directly to that. Oh, you sound like this and you sound like that. I'm like, cool. You know how to make basic observations, but um, it's ultimately comes down to just finding out your range, finding out your voice, and working within those confines, and pushing yourself every now and then too. There's no reason for you to say, "Oh, I gotta sound exactly like Corpse Grinder." Well, then what are you going to do with that? Unless you're doing like a blues or jazz band and you want to sound like Corpse Grinder, then that would be interesting. But if you're just making any other cookie cutter death metal band, then what's that say about you? So find your voice, explore, and sing in the shower, sing in the car. That's what I do. I mean, every time it was years and years and years and years of having to travel and drive to my job for what sometimes it would take like an hour and a half. I would throw on music that I loved and sing along with it. So
Just so you know, I'm actually a vocalist myself. I learned from Broken Hope, Deicide, Brutal Truth, Malignancy, stuff like that.
yeah,
But I don't do, I can't really do my vocals in the interview because every time I try and do my vocals, the mic cuts out and then the video seizes up on me.
yeah. And then
How
it
loud
starts.
I am.
I mean, hell, man. I mean, I listen to. I mean, some of my favorite vocalists are not death metal vocalists. You know, some of them are like. I mean, I fucking used to love Tom Jones. I love Elvis. Um, of course, like Arthur Brown is up there too. I love Arthur Brown. I love David Byron from Uriah Heep. So those are vocalists that I was like, wow, they're doing something very interesting that I like. But it's also very subjective too. What people think. Um, there's some vocals that I've done with other projects, and they were like, "Man, that sounds like what are you doing there?" I was like, "I think I sound like fucking, Goldar from the Power Rangers. That's pretty cool. I like that." So 80s cartoons. I've said that before in interviews. Like 80s cartoons, that'll get you some good vocals there. Sound like Cobra Commander.
This next one's a really good one and a quick one to answer. What
Sure.
social media outlet networks can the band be found on?
Right now, Facebook. I think we got some Instagram going on. I use my Instagram, my company's Instagram, Pteranodon Media, to post just everything that I'm involved with, including Vesperian. But Vesperian does have the Vesperian Facebook, and I think I think we got an Instagram. I'll have to check. I mean, we're very like we're old school, buddy. We don't use social media. No, we're semi-active on our Facebook. So I mean, one of us is going to respond if someone messages on Facebook. So
Please give some advice to bands that are starting to help them promote themselves better, and any advice you'd like to give bands to get it out there.
um, well, depends on the kind of band that you're doing. Depends on the reason that you're doing it for. If you want to be a famous band, if you want to have some sort of notoriety, um, you know, don't don't play in a metal band, and definitely don't play in a metal band in the United States, unless you want to be part of a cookie cutter shitty like whatever like radio friendly metal band, mallcore, whatever the hell. Do that then. But if you want to play underground extreme metal, um, get good at your craft. Spend a lot of time working on your skills as a player, and work and learn to work with other people too. Learn to um, and it's all about the collaborations you have with other people because that's sometimes what helps you, you know, get further as a musician. But as far as being career oriented, like you, if you want to make a product that you want to sell, um, you know, you're going to have to invest some money into it, time and money, you know, into getting it out there. Um, and you have to build a following, of course. You have to um, be consistent with your product. You have to develop it. You have to be creative and not be afraid to say, hey, this is a stopping point, and this is where I need to just put this out already. Um, find, like I said, find other collaborators, find other organizations, find opportunities to play, but play. Um, Go out there and don't be disappointed. You know, expect that the next show that you do is going to have one or two people only there. If you're doing extreme metal, expect that. And if it disappoints you, then reassess what your motivations as an artist and individual are. You know, and what you decide you want to do. Are you doing it like because like I love metal so much and I want to play it and I want to be famous, like, you know, so and so band or whatever, you know, um, then that's be prepared to be disappointed constantly. um, but the if you want to like, you know, work with organizations, work with smaller labels, work with like-minded individuals that have a passion for your music. If you're working with someone that's just trying to put your shit out, um, and not really and doesn't even listen to your music, then you know that they're not really there for your best interests. You know, if you have someone that's like, dude, I really like your music and I do this and I do that, like, and I'd like to promote it. If you're not getting any calls or anything like that, and you're not, no one's reaching out to your shit, you know, to your, you know, responding to your music, then again, reevaluate, reassess what you're doing. You know, um, if you want to make it something that's more of a product and make it to something that's more people friendly and user friendly, um, then I suggest then like going back to the drawing board on that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of, you know, artists and musicians that I respect, that don't give a fuck about that. That they just put out stuff and people find them. You know, that's like to me that's the kind of artist and band or musician that I am more so drawn to. So, but I'm just saying, like, be wary. I mean, like, you know, get if you've never played in a band before, or you've played instruments, you've never done anything out there. Um, get your feet wet, collaborate with people, go online, find some other people to play with, and just do a bunch of shows and see how it works out for you. You know, I've worked with some people that um, have straight up like that have brought into my, you know, brought into the fold of whatever project I was working on, and they've said, you know what, this whole thing with playing these shows, it isn't for me. And I said, hey man, I appreciate your honesty. That's cool. You know, you want to do you at least tried it. You at least tried it, and that's to me a very fundamental, you know, factor in living a semi satisfactory life is just to try and to fail, because you know, if you don't, if you never did it, it's worse. If you never actually tried it out, you're gonna be living. It's like, man, I wish I tried it. I wish I had tried that. You know, so yeah, I mean, I probably went a little bit too much on that answer, but that's that's along the lines of hopefully of what you were looking for on that one.
Releases with 3 more questions for the interview, and then I'll need a couple of station IDs.
All right.
Do you have a YouTube channel? And if so, what can be found on it for Vesperian Sorrow?
Um, no, we have to make a new one. Um, but there will be one, and it'll probably be something like official Vesperian Sorrow YouTube channel. Meanwhile, I mean, you could check out mine, which is Pteranodon Media. Just Terranodon Media. And I post different videos and projects. It's been a while since I posted that, but we're busy. we can't. We don't. We need our own like social media assistant, I guess, for that sort of stuff. But no, we don't have a channel as of yet. But we were just talking about it the other day. Um, our main focus was just to get this album out. So now we have a little bit of breathing room, and now we can kind of start working on stuff like that.
Would you mind talking about when the album's going to be out and where it can be ordered?
Um, it's supposed to be April, mid-April. Oh my God, they're gonna kill me for this. April 24th, April 20 something. It's April something, and uh, it's if you go on our Facebook, but Black Lion's putting it out, and Black Lion's Swedish label, and focusing on extreme metal and music that's semi similar to us, but you know also have death metal and you know other subgenres. And they've been very kind and very good and very understanding with us. But Black Lion will be releasing that album digitally, and then after that, we're going to be getting our physical copies, and we'll see what we'll do from there. I mean, they're going to have their physical copies, we'll have ours, and we may set up a shop um, to see where people can get that, and then maybe start doing pre-orders around that time as well.
Right on.
Ideally, I'd like to get this out um, on cassette tape. That's one of my dreams for this album. Is to get a cassette tape version of it. But that's going to take a bit of time. Right now, everyone's just it's all digital as a priority. So it'll by mid-April, it's going to be out in that format for sure. So as far as people that are collectors of this sort of stuff, we do want to cater to you. Um, Vinyl also another option. It's a very expensive option, but that's something this needs to be done on. Like this needs to have a vinyl release. So um, I'm not gonna say when, but do we want it to happen? Absolutely.
Right on. And I snuck in an extra question there, so that leaves me with the second last question of the interview now. Who handles all the booking, daily business activities such as bookings, promotions, and all that?
Um, we kind of do. We kind of do. You know, we have different people that work with us on that. Um, and some of the stuff we forward on to them. But you could always just message us on, you know, Facebook. Skip the middleman. Just message us on Facebook, and you know, whoever's available to entertain that. And if it goes through any sort of management, or if it goes through anyone else that we work with, um, it ends up coming down to what we can do, and we are the final deciders of that.
And before I get into the last question of the interview, I'd like to thank Will for setting me up with this talk, and Climber for setting me up with Will to set up this interview as well.
Yeah.
And that leaves us with the last question of the interview, and then I'll need the station IDs. What new band news do you have on the Vesperian Sorrow front, as in anything we haven't covered so far in this interview?
Um, we did just put up a lyric video, and I think it's on the Black Lion YouTube channel. Um, for the Borthonian Passage. I've traversed the Borthonian Passage. So if you want to go on the Black Lion YouTube channel, it should be there. And I think we do have it available on our Facebook as well. It's a lyric video that we did. And there's also 2 other tracks that are on there from the album on both the Black Lion YouTube and I think on our Facebook. We should have them on by now. So yeah, no, it's nothing aside from just we're wanting to get this album already out and see what's available as far as like possibly doing festivals, maybe this year, maybe next year, to promote this. And Black Lion just did pre-orders for the new Awaken the Gray Light official Vesperian Sorrow t-shirt that you can get through the Black Lion website or through their Facebook, and you can contact them. And I think it's a CD bundle too, if I'm not mistaken. It's a t-shirt and a CD, and I think it's under $30. So I think it's something like 25 or something like that. So I haven't done the conversion yet, but it's a pretty sweet deal. Like I'm looking to get that too myself. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff to cover, but I know we don't have that much time. One thing we're also looking to do is there's going to be tracks within the tracks of the album. Now, it's not going to be released with the album. We'll be doing them digitally first. There's going to be narration tracks with sort of synthy soundscapes in the back to kind of go into the different chapters. And we may use 1 or 2 of those live. But my intention is to do that for every single one of the tracks. So do about 10 of them. And I've already written out a few of those, probably about 4 or 5, probably about halfway done. So we'll be releasing those incrementally.
And that leaves us with a station ID. The first one is, hey, this is Logan of Vesperian Sorrow, and you're listening to Mangled Music Radio. Whenever you're ready.
Mangled Music Radio.
Yep.
Okay. All right. This is Logan of Vesperian Sorrow, and you're listening to Mangled Music Radio.
And the second station ID is for Craig's Metal Storm. You can come up with whatever you want in that one, buddy.
All right. Hey, y'all, this is Logan from Vesperian Sorrow. Make sure to listen to Craig's Metal Storm. Or else.
Cool. Thank you very much for the interview. And thank you very much for your time, Logan.
Thanks, Craig. I appreciate it, man.
You have yourself one more rest of your day.
You too.
Okay. Bye.